Peter Greenberg's Global Travel Update is presented by New Mexico True.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from me for this last Thursday of July 2026, our global travel update coming to you from on board the brand new Explora III luxury cruise ship anchored off the coast of Portofino. We sailed in early this morning and leaving in about 3 hours for Barcelona. Lots of stories we're doing on this ship. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on our PBS series, The Travel Detective. But most importantly, let's talk about the news that's going on, and there's a lot of it. And let's start with another anniversary. It was 26 years ago this week. I was actually in Hawaii when it happened and ended up racing from Hawaii to France. Not an easy flight, because on July 25th, 2000, that was the Air France Concorde that crashed off the end of the runway into a hotel near Charles de Gaulle in Paris. It was a long investigative story of the crash of the Concorde, which killed all aboard the plane and a few people on the ground as well. And you may remember that a French court convicted Continental Airlines of manslaughter in the deaths of all those people, claiming that a small strip of metal, a little bit longer than this pen, fell off a Continental Airlines DC-10 as it was taking off prior to the Concorde, and that when the Concorde rolled down that runway, the tires hit that piece of metal, triggering a series of events that doomed the plane. I did a long investigation for MSNBC, and because of that investigation, we told you what really happened on that plane, which ended up overturning that conviction. It was a wild story, but whether it was the conviction or not, it did doom the Concorde. Even though they grounded it immediately after that crash, they did bring it back for a short period of time, and then they grounded it forever. And as a result, no supersonic airplane has been flying, at least as passenger service, for over 25 years. There's talk right now, of course, of bringing it back. There's a company called Boom and a few others that are vying to be able to bring it back. The FAA has given a conditional approval to do it, which I find quite interesting, because remember, when the first Concorde was introduced, it was banned from flying supersonically over land. Why? The sonic boom, deafening. And if they couldn't mitigate the sonic boom, they couldn't fly over land, at least supersonically. So that was why the Concorde was limited to flights between London, New York, and London and Washington, D.C., and the Air France from Paris to New York and Paris to Washington, D.C. At one brief time, the British Airways Concorde did fly from London to Barbados. There was a Braniff ideation of that plane that flew to Singapore at one point, but the bottom line is it only really flew over the Atlantic to London and then back to Washington or New York's JFK. You want to see the Concorde today? There's one floating next to the Intrepid Museum in New York. There's one in Washington near at the Smithsonian campus there. In Virginia, there's one in Paris, and there's one in London. But for a real plane, flying plane that's going to go supersonically, they still haven't mitigated the sonic boom, so the jury's still out. We will stay on top of that. But again, this week, the 26th anniversary of the terrible crash of the Concorde back in July of 2000. And a story that is very near and dear to me, simply because we covered it for so many years. If you get a chance to go online and find that piece that ran on MSNBC, it was a Dateline special that I hosted. I hope you get a chance to see it. Crazy. All right, let's move on. Lots of other things to talk about. It's getting crazy in the airline business right now, because the airlines are trying to figure out how much they can charge for any available seat in any available configuration. Everything's part of the upsell. So this week, JetBlue announced 6 new fare categories. I take that back. 8 new fare categories, 6 of them in coach, right? In the main cabin, 3 different categories specifics. They segmented it out. In even more legroom area, another 3 different fare categories. even in their Mint first class service, there'll now be 2 fare categories. I mean, this is the era where Delta Airlines is introducing business economy basic. My guess is for business economy basic, you get a photograph of what you used to get 3 weeks ago. It's a little crazy. And all the airlines are doing are adding seats and charging for the misery. The only exception to that, believe it or not, I'll give you another crazy one. Don't ask me how they came up with this pricing idea. Lufthansa is now charging a premium. Think about this, a premium if you sit in the last row in coach. Can somebody explain the logic of that? They're not exiting from the rear of the plane. What's the logic of paying more to sit in the last row of coach in a seat that maybe doesn't even recline? This is getting crazy. Anyway, the only exception to this is what's happening in Hong Kong, Cathay Pacific, reconfiguring their Airbus 321s to take out seats and provide, what a concept, more legroom. Does anybody remember what happened back in 2000 when American Airlines made the announcement? We did the story, more room in coach, where they actually took out seats from their planes to make everybody happier in coach. And by the way, we were happier in coach. Who would not be? The accountants didn't like it. Seats went back in. Short-lived, as you could imagine. But Hong Kong Airline, Cathay Pacific, actually taking seats out. 3 cheers for them. Let's see how long that lasts. All right, now there's something else I got to share with you, which is really getting me angry. It's gotten me angry before. It should get you very angry. And let me give you the background. Do you remember back in 2018 the 2 crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX planes? The one in Indonesia, the one in Ethiopia. Planes just corkscrewed into the ground, killing all aboard. Total of 346 people dead. And we know what came out of that the FAA got bamboozled by Boeing and did not certifying the plane because they didn't think it was a new plane, when in fact it had all new systems and nobody was being trained to fly those systems or even how to override them. Well, it got worse because in the process of investigating that story, I was able to report on something that I'd reported on before, but nobody paid attention to. Well, they paid attention the last time I reported on it, and that is this. Who certifies Boeing's airplanes as airworthy? You would think the answer would be the FAA. Isn't that their job? Of course it is. But no. The person who certifies, or the people who certify Boeing airplanes as airworthy, are known as FAA designated inspectors. That's the key word, designated. Because who do they work for? Who pays their salary? As you might suspect, in the worst case scenario, it's Boeing. They work for Boeing. Does anybody understand the words conflict of interest? If Boeing's paying your salary, are you going to stop the production line because you don't like the way that screw was put in? When we reported that, Congress went nuts and basically said to Boeing, you can no longer do that. Only the FAA can do it. Well, guess what? That happened for a while. And then when nobody was looking, the FAA just last week has said it will allow airworthiness certificates based on inspections done by Boeing. This is nuts. Haven't they learned their lesson? Oh my God. I don't care how good the inspections are for Boeing, done by Boeing. I'm sitting in a chair right now. If I told you I inspected the chair and the chair was safe, please do us both a favor. Don't sit in the chair. You want independent oversight. At the very least, independent inspections and then federal oversight. You don't want me inspecting my own work. And that's the point that's happening now at Boeing. They've basically, the FAA has caved in again to the power and the economic impact of America's largest export company. But safety is being compromised, at least in theory. We don't like it. We don't like it at all. So I just thought I'd say that because what is everybody thinking? What argument forget what argument Boeing could make. What argument would the FAA accept that would get them over the hump of understanding the conflict of interest? Anybody have a problem with that? The answer should be all of you. Let's move on. A piece of a little concerning video just happened last week, actually about 4 nights ago, in Cincinnati at the airport there. It's an airline you've never flown because it's a cargo airline. It's called Kalita. They used to fly nothing but 747s. They're now flying a lot of 777s, cargo planes. This is what happened during an attempted landing at the Cincinnati airport with one of those 777s. Watch.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Golly. Jeez. Holy tail strike. Ooh.
Holy tail strike indeed. The pilots on that plane didn't line up properly for the approach. They went around. They came back in again. You saw what happened to the tail. They did another go around. It was a mess. By the way, that plane, that 777, 21 years old, thankfully, it stayed intact, and they landed. Obviously, an investigation is being launched. A tail strike on takeoff, we see that a lot. A tail strike on landing, hardly ever. There must have been something wrong with the center of gravity on that plane, or just bad airmanship. We'll stay on top of that story, but I wanted to share that with you. Now, let's go to some good news. Last week on the show, we talked about the fact that there's softness in the market for August and September. That's coming up in 2 days. Why? Airfares are too high. A lot of people are holding back, saying, I'm going to wait because it's just unaffordable. Those fares are unaffordable. Well, at the same time, guess what? Airlines aren't stopping. They're announcing all sorts of new routes, many of them international. Starting in October, Delta's got new routes from LaGuardia to Bermuda, international routes. We love that route, by the way, because of pre-clearance. That means when you leave Bermuda, you clear U.S. customs in Bermuda and land right at LaGuardia and go home, no customs. Atlanta to Tel Aviv, Detroit to Aruba, Riyadh and Saudi Arabia to Los Angeles. American also up in the ante with new nonstop routes overseas to Naples, Italy, Copenhagen, and 4 more. And then on the domestic side, the battleground is all Fort Lauderdale in the wake of Spirit's disappearance. We got JetBlue flooding the zone down there. We got Frontier flooding the zone down there, and even some other airlines going down there to see what they can do. Of course, JetBlue especially, but they're all going down there to try to get that market. We'll see what happens. The only thing I can say is with that much competition in Fort Lauderdale in a very short period of time, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we had some Fort Lauderdale airfare sales, at least in the short term. So watch that carefully. Okay. In the meantime, you've heard me talk about this in previous shows. You know, my definition of airline food, it's an oxymoron. People don't eat airline food because they're hungry. They eat it because they're bored. Okay, you with me on that? All right. But there are long-standing rules, internal airline rules, that do not allow the cockpit crew to eat the same airline meal. Meaning, if I'm the pilot on the plane and I order the fish, the co-pilot cannot order the fish. He has to order another dish. They do that for obvious reasons. They want to avoid food poisoning in the air. You don't need 2 incapacitated pilots. Well, the other day on a flight from India to London, on a British Airways flight, are you ready? It was British Airways flight 276, a 777. All 3 pilots, the primary 2 pilots and the reserve pilot, all were incapacitated by food poisoning. All 3 of them on the same flight. But it didn't come from the airline food. They had all eaten the buffet at the airport hotel before they went to the airport. So methinks they're going to be changing. Methinks there are going to be some changes in the rules as to what airline pilots can eat within 24 hours of a departure if they're sharing the same cockpit together. Luckily, 2 of the pilots went on oxygen because it was pretty serious food poisoning, and one of them was able, thankfully, to land the plane. I don't want to know what the condition of the cockpit was when they landed, but there you have it. All right, let's say hello to some folks. We've got Linda saying hi from Naples, Florida, which is probably as hot as it is right today in Portofino in Italy. Before here, I was in Rome, over 100 degrees, in somewhat intolerable, I might add. And she's saying, she thanks me for my great chat with Pauline Fromer on her podcast. So I'm sure you can find that on your Apple store or your App Store, the Fromer Travel Show. Thank you, Pauline, for doing the interview, and thank you, Linda, for watching it. All right, Jim and Harriet, they're always on board from Richmond, Virginia. Nice to see you guys. Mr. Patrick is in from L.A. Melanie's saying, greetings from steamy Miami. Says Portofino is still on my bucket list. It's a wonderful location, but let me give you advice. Come in September or October or May. June, July, and August, it's over tourism time. Trust me. Okay, moving right along. Speaking of July and August, unprecedented low water levels on the rivers in Europe. And a lot of river cruises are either being delayed, rerouted, and I'll explain rerouting of a river cruise, or canceled entirely. July and August, don't do it. For those that are being rerouted, what it means is you get to a point where there's just not enough water for the ship to float. They take the passengers off their riverboat with their luggage. They bus them to another location where there's a sister boat, put them back on, and hope for the best. That's schlepping. Wait till October or go in May. All right. Sue's saying hi from Bellingham, Washington. Scott's saying hi from Chicago. My old pal Cynthia Randall, hello from Malibu. About to head to the Soho farmhouse. Excuse me. Michelle saying greetings from Long Island. How do you like Explora? I love it. MSC's done a great job. You know, MSC is a privately held cruise line. It's owned by one family. They make most of their money from shipping, those MSC container ships, of which they have a few hundred ships. They're a recent entry into the cruise ship industry the last 25 years. And I happen to think they've done a very, very good job with a very European product, which I happen to like better. This is their version, and they've done a great job of a luxury cruise ship. And how do you define luxury? No, not by the thread count. How many cruise ships have you been on that may have 12 restaurants but only 2 kitchens, serving 12 restaurants? On this ship, they've got 12 restaurants with 12 separate dedicated kitchens, 12 separate dedicated chefs, dedicated menus, unbelievable variety of ingredients. Well worth it. The design of the cabins is great. They really took their time. And what I like about them, which, by the way, some other cruise lines are starting to copy, and it's not a difficult thing to do if you want to be commonsensical. They don't get into a port at 8 in the morning and leave at 4 in the afternoon and throw you on some 55-passenger bus to go to some tchotchke store and then race back to the ship. We landed here this morning at around 7 in the morning. We're leaving here at midnight. In many cases, they'll do overnights. This is a new trend. It works. We're the only ship in the harbor. That's even better. We're not competing for infrastructure. We're not destroying it either. This is the way to go. Smart. And we're not 8,000 passengers either, right? These are smaller ships, and they're beautiful. All right. We just saw a Concorde at the Museum of Flight in Seattle. Okay, Michelle. Camilla's saying cheers from Tucson. I bet it's hot there today. Brenda's saying headed to Iceland tonight. Well, speaking of Iceland, that's Brenda. You know, I've talked about secret flights before. Do you know what a secret flight is? It's officially something called a Fifth Freedom Flight. And it's a bilateral agreement between countries that allows an airline not based in country A to fly from a city in that country to a city in country B where they're also not based. They may not be on the internet when you go to make your airline reservations, but these are legal, published flights. They got to move the plane, and the fares are almost better, and the service is better. So I had to go from from Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo. Which airline did I fly? Turkish. Wait a minute. What's Turkish Airlines doing flying between Argentina and Brazil? I'll give you another one. New York to Frankfurt. Yeah, you can fly Delta. You can fly United. I flew Singapore. Singapore Airlines is flying between Frankfurt and New York. Now, Brenda just mentioned Iceland. A lot of people who fly to Iceland fly from Copenhagen. So you can fly SAS or Iceland Air. Here's one you'd never guess. Do you know who flies it nonstop from Copenhagen to Iceland? Air China on a big plane. So how do these things happen? Well, let's take a look at my flight from New York to Milan on Emirates. The actual flight goes New York, Milan, Dubai. But I'm allowed to take the New York to Milan leg and get off. That's part of the agreement, right? On my flight from Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo, It was an empty 777. They just needed to move the flight there because it originated in Istanbul, stopped in Buenos Aires, flew on to Sao Paulo, and then flew back to Istanbul. But on that shuttle flight between Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo, empty. And what was the cost of my business class ticket on a brand new 777 and all the baklava I could eat? About $100. So check that out. We've done stories on it before on the Travel Detective. Fifth Freedom Flight's my favorite. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Now, I want to share a video with you. This comes under, they meant well, but were stupid, right? They meant well, but they were stupid. They're redoing parts of the Atlanta airport, right? And you know they've got the train going between terminals, but you can also walk between terminals. And they decided to brighten up that walking experience by putting in a themed carpet. Okay, love the idea. I even love the design of it until one pilot noticed something. Run the video.
All right, Atlanta Airport redesigned this whole hallway, and it is beautiful, minus one thing. The runway is backwards. Oh, come on. They could ask one of the thousands of pilots that walk through this hallway every single day on which way they should have oriented that carpet. But it's a nice little inside joke for us.
Not inside anymore. And you know the folks in Atlanta, they're not going to change the carpet. It will become a talking point for pilots like that and us too. But look for it the next time you're in Atlanta. Melanie writes, we sent my mom on a day trip from London to Paris and back on the Concorde. That doesn't happen anymore, but it was nice. She proudly displays the certificate they gave her, and now at the age of 94 is the only member of our family who ever got to fly on that beautiful plane. Can't believe the crash was so long ago. Yeah, it was, Melanie, but I'm glad your mom got a chance to fly it. All right, Colin says, we have a free day in Paris in September and want to take a day trip to Tours or Orleans. I like art and history. Thoughts? Yeah, you can take a day trip because you'll do it by train on any of the three or four different train stations in Paris. You can do it as, take a 6 a.m. train, come back at 10 o'clock at night, you'll be fine. But there's more than just Tours Orleans. Check out the entire Loire Valley as well. I love it, but you're doing the right thing. Katrina's saying hello from Alabama. John Lample, no, he's in New York City. He's never in New York City. Hello, John. Say hi to Maria, too. Asefa is saying, watching from Ethiopia, the cradle of mankind. We love Ethiopia. And by the way, we love their airline, too. Ethiopian Airlines is doing a really good deal. And they're doing a good job. And look at their route network. Speaking of secret flights, Ethiopian Airlines had one not that long ago. Ready for this? LAX to Ireland on Ethiopian. They took it out of service, but they have some other Fifth Freedom flights as well. Love that idea. Okay, Michelle says, we also took a tour of Boeing's factory in Seattle. It was impressive, but yes, we need oversight. By the way, that is one of the most impressive factories I've ever seen up in Seattle. In fact, their hangars are so big, and you may remember this, Michelle, from your tour there. The hangars are so big, they have their own weather systems inside the hangar. Sometimes it rains in there. That's how big they are. It's definitely an impressive tour. I encourage everybody to do it, especially if you're an aviation geek like I am. But as you said, and as I said earlier, we need the proper oversight in the manufacturer process and the airworthiness certificate process. All right, our friend Mary Louise saying hi from Tempe. Michael saying greetings from sunny Lima, Ohio. Okay. Hi from Zion National Park. It's a great day to hike the Narrows. I couldn't agree more. My good pal Eddie May from Long Island. He said, we'll be in Paris pre-cruise Viking to Zurich in October for our 50th. Want to do the Eiffel Tower dinner and also a Normandy tour. Should I reserve myself or leave it to the concierge? Well, first of all, if you know where you're staying, ask the concierge to do it. That's their job. That's what they do. I'm assuming if you want to do the Eiffel Tower dinner, that's up on Jules Verne, which is quite impressive and quite pricey. Just thought I'd let you know. A Normandy tour, highly recommend. But take enough time to do the whole tour because there's so much to see. It's more than just Omaha Beach. Remember that. Okay. From Nancy, hello from Southern Colorado. regional fire and now flooding. Firefighters and responders are doing great jobs in helping. Speaking of that, not far from where I am right now, we have wildfires in Spain. We have wildfires in Paris. It's pretty intense. Of course, we had the wildfires. They're still burning in some areas in Canada. It's messy. And I can give you an entire lecture on firefighting that none of these countries have figured out. And it's an easy one to figure out. Okay, so I'll give you just a little prelude on that about how to fight a wildfire. I mean, we can talk about how to prevent one too. But let's talk about how to fight one. And I'm speaking as a firefighter. When you see pictures and video of aerial tankers coming over and dropping either chemical retardant or water, they should be doing that. It's great. But how many aerial tankers do they have? In the entire country of Turkey, I think they have one. In the entire country of Greece, they have one. So let me set the scene for you. You see the tanker coming over, it drops the water. Half of that water is vaporized immediately, never gets to the fire. The other half does, but doesn't put it out. Now that one single plane has to go back and spend 30 minutes refueling the water to be able to fill up to come back. And by the time they get back, the fire is raging again, and they can't put it out. There are a lot of planes out there that are parked that could be converted, and they need that conversion. So bottom line is, get more planes. They're there. Equip them and do it. Okay? That's the deal. Excuse me, I know, go ahead. Sorry about that. People walking in on me. It happens. All right, moving right along. I just had to mention that. All right, Kristen's saying, which destinations would you recommend that are usually affordable to visit in June or July to escape the heat of Dallas? Arlington, Texas. No kidding. Well, what you want to do is think Southern Hemisphere. First of all, you want affordable and you want cool. Go skiing in Chile in July and August. That's when you can do it. But seriously, or South Africa. I was just in the kingdom of Lesotho. Anybody want to know where that is? It's a landlocked kingdom in the southern part of South Africa. It's one of 3 kingdoms in South Africa. I was there 3 weeks ago. Everywhere else in the world, boiling heat. You know what we did there? We went snowmobiling and bumboarding in the snow. They're skiing in Africa. Who knew? All right. Our good friend John is saying, going to White Plains for the weekend. Okay. Our international friend John, who goes all over the world, actually emailed me right now to boast that he's going to White Plains. Please. Okay. Lorena's saying, thank you for joining us, Lorena. And there we have it. Now, moving right along, we're not far from there right now, but we know that the box office records are being smashed by Mr. Nolan's movie Odyssey in 70 millimeter or even on IMAX. Try to get a ticket. But what has Odyssey done? It's put Homer back in the news, and not to mention the city of Troy. Now, you know that the legendary city of Troy isn't just the stuff of myth. We did a piece. In fact, we did a 1-hour special on PBS called Hidden Aegean, and we went to Troy. And here's a clip.
You may remember the legendary Battle of Troy from high school Greek mythology, when the invading Greeks built a huge wooden horse, filled it with soldiers, and rolled it up to the gates of the city, sneaking their soldiers inside and defeating the Trojans. While the horse may be a bit of mythology and Hollywood fantasy, the 5,000-year-old city is real, and here in Turkey.
Now we are walking on the Troy's walls. Be careful.
Yep. Archaeologist Rustam Aslan is director of the Troy excavation and has been working on this site since 1988.
Peter, look, this wall. You can see the damages through the earthquake.
And then that wall over there?
It's 1,000 years older than this wall.
Wow.
That means they build and rebuild.
Again and again.
Again, in 3,000 years, we have 9 different cities of each other.
The stacked cities look like a layer cake of history in cross-section, with the oldest cities on the bottom and the newest at the top. Excavations here have uncovered artifacts from the legendary Trojan War in this sixth layer, dating back to 1200 BC.
But you're telling me that Troy actually happened here, not in Greece.
Not in Greece, and it's happened, everything's here.
So everything I learned in high school was wrong.
Yes, maybe.
Wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, everything in high school was wrong. With all due respect to Paul Simon, remember? When I think back to all the crap I learned in high school, it's amazing I can even think it all. I heartily concur, but that's another issue. Anyway, check out Hidden Aegean. You can find it on PBS, or it's instantly available on Amazon. Check it out on Amazon. Perfect time to watch it now, whether you got a ticket to the Odyssey or not. And I hope you get a chance to see it. All right. Okay, a couple questions you guys sent in. From Stephen, did I ride the Concorde a couple of times? I did. I rode it about 4 different times, including covering the last flight of the Concorde when they finally retired it. That was a flight on British Airways from JFK to London. And the captain of that plane, wonderful guy named Mike Bannister, wrote a beautiful book about it, too, if you get a chance to see it. Elena says, I'm just waiting that airline to install a 25-cent fee to use the bathroom. Well, listen, there are some airlines right now, I mean, I shouldn't even mention it, but I will. They're considering renting out the overhead bin space, too. Really? All right. Patty says, I'm planning a trip to Naples next April with 2 girlfriends. We bought travel insurance for the tour, but not the flight. Is it worth the extra money to buy refundable tickets? The airlines are either United, Delta, or Lufthansa. Well, let's go back into that for a second, Patty. You should never, I hate using the N word, but you just heard it, never buy travel insurance from the travel provider. You should never buy it online because you haven't a chance to read the policy language. And usually that particular policy language online is less beneficial to you than if you buy it from a third party. So go to a travel agent or a travel advisor, have them walk you through the real policy language of what benefits you the most. And here's the thing. If you bought a ticket for the flight and you can't take the flight, then what's going to happen is you're going to get a credit when you cancel that flight that you can use for the next year, but it's from the next year from the date you bought the ticket, not the day you were going to fly. Just remember that because you mentioned you're going in April. So if you bought your tickets now and you cancel April, you don't have a lot of time to use the ticket, like 0, right? So keep that in mind. All right, let's go to the photo of the week. I love this photo. And Carol Forster took this shot. Look at it carefully. This is not AI. This is a cloud formation, she writes, that occurred just prior to a rainstorm on Plum Island in Massachusetts back in 2025. I couldn't help but wonder just what did the folks in the house do to deserve such wrath from the heavens? It seemed as though the sky was about to focus all of its energy down upon that poor home. Alas, after the rain, the house was still there and everybody was spared. But the photo and the image lives on. And we thank Carol for that shot. Love it. If you think you've got a photo that qualifies for the photo of the week, you know what to do. Just send it to us at photocontest@petergreenberg.com, and we will get it right up there next to Carol's if we agree. My good pal Tammy, listening in from Houston. Hello, Tammy, who goes back to the Continental days. Happy to see you there. Camilla's suggesting for our friends in Dallas who want to escape the heat, you can go to Glacier National Park or Tahiti. And very good. Okay, and Norway, of course. And Evelyn saying hello from Halifax. I love Halifax at any time of the year. They have one of the great museums there, their Maritime Museum. Some great restaurants there. Check out the Bicycle Thief. But the Maritime Museum there is amazing because with all the hoopla about Titanic, where is that Titanic headed? Halifax. Amazing stuff there. Plus, one of the worst maritime disasters in the history of the world happened in Halifax in the canals leading out to the ocean. You have to see that exhibit to see exactly what happened. Unbelievable story. Raymond saying, hello from the Jersey Shore on a rainy and wet Thursday. At Raymond and the birthday girl, Connie and Anique. My extended family, it's the Bixons. Hi, Raymond. Hi, Connie. Hi, Anique. Hi, Alex. Hi, babies. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're here in Portofino in 100-degree weather, so don't be too jealous. Bottom line, Check out our radio show this weekend. Of course, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't get it in your neighborhood, no problem. Go to our website, petergreenberg.com. It's live. We stream it live at about 10:05 a.m. Eastern. Just hit the radio icon and you'll be fine. Bottom line is we're setting sail in about 4 hours. We'll end up in Barcelona in about 40 hours from now, and we'll be doing another story there. I will see you next week for a global travel update from, I shouldn't tell you, but it's not far from here. Think Homer, think Odyssey. How about that? But we'll see you next week. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Stay cool if you can. Thank you for watching. In the meantime, any other questions you got, just send them to me, peter@petergreenberg.com. In the meantime, I'll see you on the radio on Saturday. Thank you, Anthony, for handling all of this back in Los Angeles. On the next week.
Peter Greenberg's Global Travel Update is presented by New Mexico True.